Hello, everyone. It's Vinny here. It's a beautiful day outside, but here with me, I have a special guest that are going to talk to us many things about events industry. So Melva has established herself as one of the leading event planners in the US with over 20 years in the live events industry. As the founder of her company, LaJoy Plans, she has coordinated events for budgets that exceeds $1 million a day, servicing mission-focused organization and discerning clients globally. Recognized as an event industry thought leader, Melva is the proud recipient of the 2022 Event Industry Council Global Social Impact Award in recognition of her commitment to diversity and inclusion within the events industry. We're going to talk a lot about inclusion, diversity, social impact today, and it's a pleasure. Thank you, Melva, so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here and to see you again. It's been a little while, right?
Yes. We have all those events that we attend together. Max, BizBash. Which one is your most excited, or what's the one that you recommend for event planners?
It's so hard to pick a favorite because our industry is so dynamic. But what I would say is BizBash and IMAX, they absolutely do an amazing job because they understand how to curate meaningful content and to leave unstructured time for networking. Because I believe, and I think a lot of us know, that networking and connecting with our colleagues, relationship building is so important for our industry.
Yes, we are design events also for networking. And when we attend those events, we also want to see the same and feel the same. That's great. So what's your plan for this year? Are you planning to attend those events again? You don't know yet? Do you have a calendar?
Well, you know what? Best laid plans. So here's what I'll tell you. Since COVID, and I think a lot of us are feeling this, there's been the event boom. And for my business, we are booming. Thankfully, knock on wood, do all of the things. And so I'd like to get out. I know for sure I'll be going to IMAX in the fall in October. I'd love to go to some BizBash events. And in 2024, I've got to hit up PCMA's convening leaders. I think that's a really good one for meeting planners. So I'm going to be living out of a suitcase, and I'm completely okay with that.
That's awesome. You were just talking about also like your personal life, living between the US and Europe. How is it for you? Is it easy to pick up some calls with meetings with customers when it's like a late in Europe, it's early here in the US?
Well, good question. But first, I have to say bonjour to my chérie, Emmanuel. I love you. Yes, I'm that wife who is very in love with my husband. So thank you for letting me do that. What I will say is, so when I'm in Paris, I'm 6 hours ahead in the US. But here's the thing. I made a lifestyle choice for me and my family, but that wasn't my client's choice. So I work East Coast hours, which does mean sometimes I'm working 10, 11 o'clock at night. But I'm also not a solopreneur. I have an amazing team. We have a clear understanding, clear communications of roles and responsibilities, right? So our clients know that if they can't reach me, I have the best team to ever do it. So that's how we feed off of each other. We feed off of each other.
Nice. And they also are working on like New York time zone, right?
Yes. So LaJoy Plans is based on the East Coast. We service folks globally, and we work to the pleasure of our clients. So we work within some boundaries, but if they need us, they can always reach us.
Perfect. And you mentioned this world that we live in post-COVID. We see in-person events booming. How really changed in your planning structure? You planning to like a lot of sanitizers and social distance, or not that much?
I kind of feel like saying, how much time do you have? Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. Since COVID, there's a couple of things. Number one, probably the number one thing is our clients are always now exploring the hybrid solution because people got very, very comfortable with, wait a minute, I can experience this fantastic conference from my living room, I think I'll do that and save the money on the travel. That, right? So hybrid is huge for us. The second thing I would say is, some of the cleanliness practices that COVID forced all of us to do, we probably should have been doing anyway. Like, I don't want to say, but some of us are kind of nasty. I'm just saying. So,
independently, right? Like of the virus, but there's still other viruses over there.
Yeah, we probably should have been doing some of this. So our clients still expect a high quality of cleanliness. So they still want to see the sanitizers. They still want to see the wipes. They still want to visibly know that people are considering that. And then I would say probably the third thing is that while people want to get together, like people need people, we've got to hug, we've got to connect, but the experience, like the opportunities to network is critical. So you can't just have content, breathe, content. You've got to have structured networking time. And I could go on and on and on, but we've got lots to talk about. So why don't you ask me another question?
No, yeah, but that's very important. So how do we catch more of the attendees' attention? And you also mentioned some people, they don't want to spend with travel. The inflation, it's
real.
Like we see the pricing of hotels, the flights are getting expensive. So first, for people that are going in person, what are your most things to do to catch their attention? Like either during a content or not a content session. Is there something special that you try to bring?
Yeah, there's two things that I'm advising clients to do immediately. Number one, let's start planning, or let's continue planning with intention. And by that, I mean, before you launch your great event, let's check that theory that it's actually great. And so we encourage our clients, particularly our member organizations, to survey their audience to get a temperature if there's even a need for the event. So let's say there's a need for the event. Then I'm going to say that structured TED Talk style programming is what we're seeing. It's not new, but you've got to be able to convey your message, get that presenter who can summarize their key points in 10 to 15 minutes. And I would also add that audience participation. So people have to feel like if I go to this event, I'm going to have an experience, but I'm also going to actively engage with the superstars of the industry. So it can no longer be, I have a keynote, I'm so wonderful. You could be wonderful, but guess what? I'm going to need you to take some questions. I'm going to need you to be present at the reception. So I would say poll your folks first and then design an experience that you would want to go to.
That's true. And even sometimes the way you position your stage, right? Make sure your speaker is close to the audience. They will feel like there is no such a big gap between us. We are all part of the same community.
Connection.
Yeah, perfect. And if you could share with us any of those bad stories that happen on events, something that happened recently or something you're getting after your career, that you were planning something, your mind was perfect, but we know events is all about like having a plan B, plan C. And all of those plans was like fraud.
Yeah, the domino. So I'm going to tell a oldie but a goodie. So my career actually started with a radio station. And I started at the lowest level. If I was an assistant, I'm probably being nice about that. And one of the events as I worked my way up, I was a stage manager, was for the late rapper DMX. And it was one of my top concerts. I mean, he was really a big deal then, right? And we had all of these plans of how he was going to get on stage and all of the things, right? There's only one problem. Nobody could find him when it was time to perform. No one could find him. And so
But you know the person that was already at the venue?
We thought he was. We thought he was, but he wasn't. And so as a result, that particular concert started really late. There were some security situations. It was a whole thing. And P.S. MTV was recording it. I mean, this is really, really great. So while it ultimately worked out, the learning, because I think every bad experience has a learning, is assign someone to your VIPs. I was so early in my career and I was so focused on the schedule, it didn't occur to me, oh, we actually need people like a handler for your VIPs. That's what I would say. Then a more recent event, I will say, is make sure we had an event. Oh, it was going to be lovely. All of the things, blah, 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 except the MC had it on their calendar for a week later. And so the event,
how do you control that? Like, was someone that had sent the wrong invite, or
someone who was not me or a member of my team sent the wrong invite. And in that moment, it could have gone really, really bad. It was high stress. So we deputized the board of directors, gave him the script, and we just went with it. So the lesson there is if you have a responsibility for the show, to double check, even if you're not the person directly responsible.
No,
I could go on and on, but that was
those are perfect lessons. We are learning every moment, every time with those small mistakes, those small problems that happen. But we see some big problems in society, that one of them is inclusive and diversity. So how do you see this picture in the events industry? How can we make the events industry more diverse, more inclusive? What we are missing?
I think a lot of things. So first, I will say, in general, regardless of industry, you actually just have to care. You actually just have to have the posture that the way that we've been doing things, like all one race, all one gender, all one sexuality, like it's not real. And so I believe the events industry is a people industry. It is an industry about innovation and creativity. And so if you accept those things, if you love the industry like I do, you know that we can't continue without being diverse. So step one is actually care. And then once you care, you need to actively engage in every interaction and ask yourself a very simple question. Who is not in the room? Who have we not considered? And so obviously I'm a Black woman. I'm very proud of that. So I think about it from that lens. But what about the disabled person? What about the person where English is not their first language? What about the person who may be identifying or transitioning? How are they using the restroom? And I think that we are uniquely equipped because we are people, we love people, to ask ourselves who is not in the room, who is not being considered, and develop a plan that honors our diversity. There is no other way. There could be another way, but I hate to say it's the wrong way. So just care.
Nice. Yeah. It's all started with like this empathy and really understand the word, right? Like we are all different people. And again, this question is perfect. Who is not in the room? So we can bring this person. We can either create more space, right? Or we can switch. But I feel first there is a lot of opportunities to grow the pie. It's not like, you needed to give up everything. No, you needed to make sure we're going to include it, and everyone will have an opportunity.
My grandmother said, or maybe my mom said it, because I don't want her to get me later, but they said there's enough sun out here that we can all shine.
That's true.
It's actually true, right?
So true.
And so I would also add that if you are someone who identifies with otherness and you have access in a room, you're at the table, you're in the board meeting, bring somebody else along. So if I'm in a room and I'm Black and I'm female and I don't see anybody else like me, I'm probably going to invite my mentee. Or if I'm transgender and I went to a concert and I don't see anybody like me, probably going to say, here's an artist that you should consider. Create access. If you have access, create it, expand it. Sorry, I could go on and on.
No, that's perfect. So is there something that we needed to discuss more? Do you think we are discussing this topic enough, or it's more we are lacking more doing things, like we have been talking a lot, maybe not doing a lot?
I think I would want to check the data. So to your point, and I think it's a fair point, we do a lot of talking. We do a lot of talking. I want to know if that is shifting the actual representation. So I am not right in this moment educated enough to know, do we actively see more diversity in the C-suite? Are we seeing more diversity in our speaker panels? Are we, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So I do think, because for some people, right, oh, this conversation again, oh, this again, again, until we actually see some real data that the shift is happening. And I would argue that we know the shift isn't fully happening because we still have horrific news about hate and violence and et cetera, against communities of otherness, be it Asian, be it Black, be it gay, etc. So clearly we need to keep talking, but we have to implement some tangible actions in our industry.
Yeah, that's, again, it started with caring, right? Like, we needed to care about people in general, like not just one group, but all groups, how we are making them feel they are important, like
and seen and valued. Yeah.
That's perfect. And with your vast experience in industry with your company and manage like events from 10 people, what was the biggest one? 60,000 people?
About 60,000. Mm-hmm.
What excited you most recently, for example, with even considering the inclusive topic? Which event was like more excited for you, that you were able to see like this diversity and inclusiveness, very clear picture?
I'm about to blow your mind right now because the event happened in New York.
Oh, nice.
And let me say, all of my clients are special and wonderful, but this was something else. So this organization, the name is Avenues for Justice. They have existed for 40 years, and their whole reason for being is to help empower people that look like me, maybe look like you, to have a second chance beyond their juvenile misdemeanor, right? And so last fall, I had the honor to sit side by side with them as they curated this beautiful experience called the Second Chance Experience. And they honored someone who, his name is Jason Floan, who's a justice advocate. But for me, the moment that was so special is they honored a participant of their program. And I may not have all of the details to the fact, but essentially this is in New York, she's from New York, got involved into gang violence, was a young mother. Her mother was also a young mother, was facing a lot of time. Avenues for Justice came in and gave her a different way. And now she is headed on a different path. And when she was given the award, by someone who works at Avenues for Justice, who was her 10 years ago.
Oh.
So for me, I'm almost like getting emotional about this. So you have a woman who 10 years prior went to jail, was a teenage mom, who is helping another young lady of color to have a second chance.
10 years later, right?
10 years later, and it continues, and they've been doing it for 40 years.
Wow.
And so imagine if we were all like that. Imagine if we approached interacting with people who they may not look the part or fit in the box, or maybe they're a little rough around the edges. And if we showed them empathy, and if we approached everybody with an opportunity to consider that they could have a second chance, how much better would we be? And for me, sitting there watching, there was a video, there was all of the things. That was one of the most powerful events I have seen in recent years.
Nice. And do you see companies approaching those organizations to partner with them? Like big brands, why they talk so much about inclusive, and sometimes they don't know exactly how to do, right? Like it's not easy sometimes because they don't understand, they don't have the right people. But there is people, like there are the people doing this in the right way. Why don't you partner with that and really put your brand there? Because that's going to be so valuable.
Well, for this particular client, and I hope I'm saying this right, the MBA Foundation, I'm almost positive this, gave them money to continue their work. So to your point, now I don't know enough about the MBA Foundation to know what their strategy or how they do it every day, but they invested in this organization so that they could do the work. So for people who may not know, if you're a high net worth individual, invest in avenues for justice. If you're a company, a corporation, invest in the avenues for justice. So I think that's a part of it. If you don't have the tools, but you got the money, put your money over there.
Yeah, that's a very powerful tool, money.
I'm just saying, put your cash there.
Yeah, and that's will start to make a whole big difference in the data that we are seeing.
Yes.
How this community are being empowered, how those communities getting out of this exclusive, excludent zones, right? We're gonna see more of them everywhere, but we won't need to talk about this anymore because we'll be doing this so much that we'll be part of the society.
My dad used to say, Melvin, who I'm named after, he used to say, money has two purposes. And I would say, what, Daddy? He said, money can be a gateway to oppression, or it can be a gateway to opportunity. So for all the wealthy folks watching this, hearing this, opportunity. Okay, that's my last PSA. You're welcome.
No, that's perfect. And as you talk about your dad, what are your strong thinking? Like when you were a child, you were thinking, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna do that when I grow up, and how does change compared to where you are right now? Is it better now, or you were expecting even more? You were still have a lot of dreams?
That's a lot of questions. So first, let me say, I'm going to tell you the honest answer. My mom knows this. So I very much wanted to be an Egyptologist. This is actually a profession. I was on a full campaign. Clearly, I didn't do it, right? And then I morphed in because people used to refer to me as Little Joyce. My mother is Joyce. So everything she did, I wanted to do. And so I thought I would be in education, and that's all of my degrees, right? So clearly I didn't do that. I did, but then I shifted.
You did your art, right? Art was your
Well, I did history, administration, and education. So nice. I did do that, and this is my second career. But to answer your question, this season in my life is the best season in my life. Best season in my life. I like to call this is my revival. Now, I won't date myself, but I'm not 20. Okay. I know, shocking, right? But my life, and it has not been easy, but my life has exceeded my expectations. And so in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm just getting started. So that's what I will say. So what I would tell someone like my younger self, like whatever your